I'm back and hella tired, but so needed to draw, because as much as I love my family and my B-Day, as I'm spoiled like crazy, the itch to draw is strong. So let's get back into it with Poppy of Poppy's Playtime, the face of Playco herself. And oof, what a face. Still love her, kinda. Won't lie, she kinda pulled a lot of stunts on me, but I do get why. Anyway, design-wise, I do like the idea of Poppy being a porcelain doll, mainly for symbolic reasons, but since she was brought back around 1970s to the 80s, she technically shouldn't have been made into a porcelain doll, since plastic dolls were starting to become more common in the 1950s, and since it's been like 10, 20 plus-ish years, she really should have been made of plastic, especially if she's meant to be a more realistic baby doll, fashion doll thing. Like, in a sense, think like Gabby Gabby from Toy Story, or like, I can't remember the actual doll's name. I always want to say Tina, but I think that's wrong. But it's clear that Poppy is designed to be the more like active doll. But like that doll and Gabby Gabby from Toy Story 5, that's what Poppy should have been designed to look like based on the toy production timelines. And like, don't get me wrong, I get why, since Elliot made the Poppy doll before she was born, which was 1949, so the original model being porcelain when Poppy was a baby makes sense. Just not 40 years later when she's brought back. Plus, what kind of monster thinks putting organs and living material into a porcelain doll? Elliot was real stupid with that one. Those dolls are extremely delicate for a reason. Granted, like, the inner body of the porcelain dolls are just like sack material, so like that part would survive. Face, hands, feet, no. You're done. You're done as soon as you drop that thing. And like, hands down, that's honestly like my main issue with her design overall, because again, porcelain is not durable. It's not a good idea to if you're a collector, then yes, it's a good idea to have porcelain dolls as a collection. However, giving porcelain dolls to children is such a bad idea, especially now. But the other stuff that I have issue with her design is mainly her proportions and color, because why is her head so massive to the rest of her body? I mean, I want to say that I think I know it's mostly for game purposes, but what's so wrong with her head being sized more atomical? I mean, I have a lot of porcelain dolls, and they're all proportioned, like they're made to be proportioned. But like, if this is Barbie territory, then I can kinda get her head being a bit bigger for her clothes, since with Barbie, she was built around the exact same way, since small doll clothes tend to be thicker due to their, size, but also the stitching. But Poppy's not a Barbie, so her head doesn't need to be that. Anyway though, colors. I know her inspo is Raggedy Ann color-wise, and kinda lore-wise, since the Annabelle doll is a Raggedy Ann doll in a glass case, just like Poppy, but just like always, the colors aren't mixed well and in only one spot of each other. And for a game, it's fine, as the massive amount of red hair is easier to follow. However, it still makes for a very boring doll, color-wise. And funnily enough, I can't say too much about the fashion, as porcelain dolls and their clothes themselves were often made at the same time of the most popular dresses. And since they were so delicate, changing their clothes wasn't super common or that affordable. So Poppy's dress, while the silhouette is accurate to whatever time period it was made for, since it's kind of like a colonial ball gown type, it's just everything else that's kind of up for debate. Mainly the top, due to the ruffles and like the overall structure of the top. But it is relatively fine for what it's trying to convey, though with her being in production in the 1970s/80s, she probably wouldn't have been the most popular doll for young girls at this time, based on the design. So let's do something about that, shall we? So for Poppy's redesign, I did decide to make her plastic. Obviously, this complicates things in chapter 5, but from a toy production timeline, she should be plastic. And while yes, she could be the original doll Elliot gave her, I don't think with the amount of surgeries and tests that the doll would look as good as it does. Plus, the Poppy Playtime dolls were made in 1950, the starting point for plastic dolls, and Poppy herself died in the 60s, a time when plastic dolls were even more popular, and she was brought back around the 70s and 80s, to which that time period plastic dolls were the standard. So yeah, she's plastic now, with a way more human shape to her. I mean, Elliot did say he based the Poppy doll on his daughter when she was only a year old, which, like, dude. But based on that, she's likely to be a baby doll type with a fashion doll add-on, so yeah. I made her face more baby-like with fuller cheeks and a more noticeable chin, are now more pop/hidden joints that allow her head to turn. I also did the same thing to her wrists and feet so they're able to rotate. I also plumped her arms and legs up a bit more. If you've seen a baby, you know, along with making her head more fitting to her body and size. As for her face, Poppy already had a pretty good human-ish face, but due to the size of her head, it made her eyes look massive, so yeah, downsizing the head made her eyes less intense, but I did keep them slightly bigger, as bigger eyes on a doll is kind of a must, as it enhances their cuteness factor and more baby-like, which I find hilarious, as actual babies look insane. But the brain's crazy that way. Anyway, I spaced out her eyelashes so you could see them better and added some on the bottom since a lot of the dolls I saw had them, and some of the ones that I own myself do have them on the bottom, though they're technically painted on. Now for her hair. So Poppy's hair has always kind of confused me since her bangs are more straight with a bit of like a curl wave forming in the front, yet her pigtails are very tight curls. And don't get me wrong, I know new growth for curly hair differs, but like, couldn't they have just curled her bangs so it wouldn't have looked so disconnected? Just a thought. So yeah, I took her anime bangs away and gave her fluffy, soft, curled bangs and made her pigtails one big curl, mainly for drawing reasons, but for the game and 3D purposes, I would probably either keep what they have and just make her bangs curly, or move the pigtails back a little bit and do more of like a rose/ringlet style curl, kind of like Shirley Temple, or something more in line with 1970s hairstyles, but for now, one big curl for each tail. But I did also add baby hairs, curl style, as well to her sideburn area, just to make it extra cute. Also, yes, I did keep her freckles. They're so cute, even if you can't ever really see them, since Poppy doesn't get super close for us to notice. Also for her makeup, which I just find crazy in the context of how she was made, but I decided to ditch the red lips and went for a more natural lip color and lightened the blush to be more natural and, weirdly enough, less small. The blush marks on her face are so small and in such a weird place to put blush, but whatever. Also her bangs cover her eyebrows, but they are there and they are now painted on. As for her outfit, I didn't want to go too off from the original, as it should still feel like something Elliot would approve of, but the design did need to be a bit more modern of the time of the doll's making when Poppy was brought back. So I went with a short puffy sleeve double layer dress with lace trim, which weirdly wasn't a super popular thing during the 70s, as ruching was more popular. However, lace is also very delicate and often used more for baby clothes than anything, so I felt it felt right to do that. So I also wanted to match the original style of the dress, just more modernized. I did also take her chest bow away and gave her a sailor ribbon with a brooch pin with either the company logo or her initials. I haven't fully decided yet, but I also shaped the brooch to look like a poppy flower, and speaking of poppy flowers, I also added them to her dress. That way I could include the red into her outfit without it looking too much like Raggedy Ann. As for the bows on the lower parts of her dress, I just moved them to her shoes, and I also gave her like a buckle over shoe instead of just like regular slip-ons like she's been wearing. I also gave her lace trim socks, because weirdly enough, I don't think they even gave her socks in her OG design, which, like, come on now, dog. Porcelain dolls are pretty much to scale dolls, so everything they wear is what the average little girl did, so she needs socks. And that tradition with the socks continued on into the 70s. So again, she needs socks. And I gave her socks. Now for color. I did stick to the original area of the OG color palette, but I toned it down a lot. Mainly because Poppy is still a relatively old doll, and based on her production timeline, bright colors like hers wouldn't have been as popular, so I muted her hair color a bit, made her blue more jean colored, which is a more softer gray blue tone, kept the white and added a light green for the leaves of her flowers for like a small bit of pop of color, but not enough to take away from her face, you know? I also made her shoes red as my 3 for 3 colors, aka her hair, her brooch, and her shoes. Keeping everything even. As for her skin, since she's no longer made of porcelain, I really needed to pinken her up a bit, but I still wanted to keep that like ghostly look about her and kept her pretty pale, but still like in the skin pink color kind of way. Her eyes are somewhat the same, though they have a more painted glass look to them instead of this like weird black void thing going on. Like Poppy's eyes to me don't look like doll's eyes, whereas everybody else has doll-like eyes. But for some reason, Poppy's eyes just look it's like they're trying to look human, but they don't look human. They look like a black hole. Like I don't know. I mean, like, I like the redness around her eyes. I really do enjoy that part, but like her actual eye color and all that going on, it just looks weird. It doesn't look like a doll's eye, if that makes sense. And I don't think they're her eyes. So, but yeah, I made them look more like a painted glass look to them. Now I did add a darker blue, but that was more so my highlight color to avoid overlapping and just, you know, my overall embellishment color, but that's about it. I don't know what else to say, because like, you know, these kinds of dolls are very simplistic. I mean, yes, they are like dressed to the nines in lace and layers, but like that's just the construction of the doll. If you were to see these outfits like on a person, it wouldn't look as big and fluffy. But when you put it on a doll, it just looks massive. But yeah, these dolls are relatively simplistic, especially the 70s ones, because they're, you know, simplistic was the 1970s, roughly 80s style of dress and doll. So yeah, I did simplify Poppy, but I also didn't want to take away too much of like the fantastical parts of a doll's outfit, you know, like, you know, the overabundance of a doll like this. So yeah, but that is about it. I'm pretty proud with how this turned out. I was not sure how I was going to do this. And like for the whole chapter 5 thing, since I've now made her no longer porcelain, I guess if it were up to me, I would have her more banged up look be similar to Chucky's, with like actual scars and rips to her face, you know, like actual wounds, I guess, since her face is now plastic. Thank you for that. Since her face is now plastic. And as for her outfit, it would probably be the exact same, just a smidge more burnt up and dirty. But other than that, I can't think of much else to say. Anyway, this was a fun challenge. I'm kind of excited to work on Huggy and Kissy next, and the prototype when I figure out what to do there. Also, next episode of The Amazing Digital Circus is like right around the corner, and I still need to do a redesign for them. I'm kind of thinking of making them more toy-like, since that seems to be the game's like main thing with the avatars. So yeah, look forward to that. Oh, it looks like we have a few new members to scream at today. Welcome CyberX MP4, Zeke O Draws, and Shadow. Welcome to the madness. And special thanks to Forfeit10 and Eldritch Pan for the super thanks on my Lily Love Braids video and Jax and Vaggy Rant videos. Y'all should go watch those, by the way. I hear they're really good. Onto the wall of teeth you go. Also, thank you to the other members. You have my whole heart. Everyone else, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow me on my socials right here, and if possible, hit that join button or super to join the Board of Teeth. It really helps out the channel and me. I hope you all have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!